that better? Is that right now? Top one to the bottom? Either one. Bottom one is. Off. And then turn the top one on. There we go. We have Stan McDonald, who was a probate judge at one time in his career as practicing attorney in Huntsville. And we have General Ed Crowell from Montgomery, who many of you may be familiar with through his service in the U.S. Air Force and also in the Montgomery community. Our procedures today, we will first take up the Fcpa civil appeals, which is the campaign, contribution reporting violations. Then we will hear complaints in executive session for two reasons. One is because the good name and character of individuals could or will be discussed, and because in executive session and when hearing our complaints, witnesses' testimony and other evidence are subject to the provisions of the Grand Jury Secrecy Act. After that is concluded, in about 90 minutes, we will come back to open session and vote. Anyone who's here who has not signed the register, we would ask you to come up to the table and sign in. We ask that any cell phones be turned off during the open session. If you need to, you can put them on silent or vibrate. As soon as they are finished signing in, we'll call on Pastor Mark Osgood, Perry Hill United Methodist Church, to offer our invocation. All right, Pastor. Pastor Osgood. Okay. Well, I'll offer the invocation. Let's bow our heads. Father in heaven, we're thankful for the opportunity to be together as citizens of our state. We ask that you bless everyone here, especially the work of our staff and of this commission. Guide us to do the right thing, both legally and morally. We ask you to provide safe travel for each person here after our session is concluded. In Christ's name, amen. All right. First thing we'll take up is approval of the minutes from our February 2nd meeting. Have all the commissioners had an opportunity to review the minutes, and if so, any additions, deletions, or corrections?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Approved 4-0. The next item we have is revised language on the Statement of Economic Interest form. I'll call on the staff to go over that for us.
Yes, Commissioner. This revision would really just add a clarification onto the form. We've got an asterisk that we like to put in there for the statement or for the question, did you or your spouse receive any income, including salaries, fees, dividends, profits, commissions, or other compensation from any private business? We've had some confusion come up a few times about people where, mainly in investment circumstances, where they've gotten dividends on that, but it's not really considered income by the IRS, so they're wondering, do they have to report that to us? And this would just clarify that if they're having to report it to the IRS, they would report it to us, and if not, then they wouldn't need to.
All right, do I have a motion?
I move that we approve the revised language on the Statement of Economic Interest form.
Second by Commissioner McDonald. Any discussion? Not all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Passes 4-0. This time we'll consider appeals from civil penalties which the Secretary of State's office has imposed. Under the Fcpa statutes, the Secretary of State's office is charged with assessing civil penalties against any person who fails to timely file their campaign reports. Once the Secretary of State's office imposes those penalties, they can be appealed to this commission within 14 days. Upon a finding of good cause, this commission can reduce or set aside the civil penalty. On this issue, the person upon whom a civil penalty has been imposed bears the burden of proof. I'll again call on the staff to present the appeals for our consideration today. By the way, this is Brian Patterson. For any of you who may not know him, he is our Associate Assistant General Counsel. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. The first appeal that we have today comes from the Nurse Practitioner Alliance of Alabama PAC. They are appealing one fine of $300. It was for their annual report that's due on January 31st. They filed that report on February 4th. I don't believe anyone here is here today from that PAC, but they did state in their appeal that they're requesting a waiver of the penalty of $300 that they received for filing the report late. Their chairperson is new to the role and for some reason did not receive the emails about the filing deadline. She also thought that since they had input the info in January and had not made any donations, that the filing was up to date. They say that they have checked the account and she is listed on the account but has checked her emails and not received the reminder emails. She says that Dr. Young and I, and this is coming from the president of the PAC, Deanne Summerall, she says that they have determined that since she can also file the reports, that she can assist with the filing so that this issue does not occur again. They say that they are a small organization that has just recently ramped up their efforts to be participants in campaign donations and candidates who support their mission of improving health outcomes of the citizens of Alabama, and that a fee of $300 would heavily impact their efforts, and for that reason request that the fine be waived.
All right. We appreciate having the General Counsel from the Secretary of State's office, Mr. Hugh Evans, here. He comes to all of our meetings and advises us on the actions taken by the Secretary of State's office. And by the way, he's former General Counsel of this commission, so he has vast experience and knowledge. Anything to add on this particular case?
Mr. Chairman, no, sir. Not on this one.
Is there a motion by the commission on the appeal of the Nurse Practitioner Alliance?
I move that we set aside the fine of $300.
Any discussion? Have a motion, a second. All those in favor of approving the appeal signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. Passes 4-0. Next one is former Senator Bill Holtzclaw, and both Commissioner McDonald and I have prior relationship with Senator Holtzclaw. So for that reason, we're going to recuse, and Chief Justice Stewart is our co-chairman of the commission. We're going to let her handle this.
Yes, Mr. Holtzclaw is appealing one fine today. It's in the amount of $136.05. It's an appeal from a monthly report that was due on February 2nd, which was filed on February the 11th. It is a first offense, and I don't believe Mr. Holtzclaw is here, but he does state in his appeal that he received email from the Secretary of State's office. Well, sorry, let me skip over a little bit. He did not receive his account login information until 6 days after the due date of the February report. He says that in good faith, he attempted to contact the Secretary of State's Elections Division for clarification and did not receive a response. And he says that, albeit late due to no fault of my own, an accurate and complete February Fcpa was filed on February 11th.
Mr. Evans?
Yes, ma'am. We have several cases just like this one today. As you all know, everything with FCPA has to be done electronically, except when a candidate forms a principal campaign committee. They register online, They then have to print out a form, get signatures on it, send it to us. We log it in, send them back their credentials. Now, just because of timing matters, Senator Holtzclaw registered. The report was due about 3 days later. He didn't get the credentials back from us until the next week, so we have no objection to this.
All right. Since it's just two of us, General Crowell, do you have a motion with regard to this case?
I do. I move that the fine of $136.05 be set aside.
And I will second that motion.
And are we leaving the offense in?
You're going to leave the offense in, or do you want to dismiss the offense as
Dismiss
well?
the,
All right.
dismiss.
All right, and I will second that as well. All right. I assume there's no discussion. We will now vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? No. Carries 2-0. Okay.
Next, we'll take up the appeal of James Anthony Hicks.
Yes, sir. Mr. Hicks is appealing a fine of $250. It's a first offense as well. This is for a monthly report that was due on February 2nd. It was filed on February 9th. In his email, he states that he's very new to the election process and was not intentional to be late in reporting this requirement. His family and he just sold his home in December, and his mail has just started to catch up. He has since received the filing guide and has made contact with the voting assistance office and spoke with Janie, who was very helpful in correcting his paperwork, and apologizes for creating the issue and hopes to do a better job with the online filing going forward.
Secretary of State's office, have you any other comment?
Nothing to add, Mr. Chairman.
Is this a first offense?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Yes, ma'am.
I move that we set aside the offense and fine.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Not all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Passes 4-0. James Clifford Borden.
Yes, sir. Mr. Borden is, I believe he is here today. He is appealing a fine of $300. It is a first offense. This is for his annual report that was due on January 31st. It was filed on February 7th. Mr. Borden, are you here? Would you like to speak to the commission? Yes. If you would come down here, and then I'll swear you in. Before you speak to them, while this is a civil penalty, I just want to inform you that an intentional violation of Fcpa is a criminal penalty, and if you were to be prosecuted for such a penalty or for such a act, that would be anything you would say here would be used against you in court of law. With that said, would you still like to speak to the commission? Okay. Would you please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do. Okay.
Yes, sir. Go ahead. You're welcome to explain your situation.
Yes, sir. I'm a county commissioner, first term in Walker County, Alabama. My campaign fund that I've been doing, as I'm new to this, as you stated earlier, I am one of those that is technologically illiterate. We actually did not have good internet service at my home location, so I had actually purchased an iPad. And that's where we got our internet, I guess. I think my wife tells me off of AT&T, the cell phones, whatever that stuff means. Anyway, I was late in filing this past report. I think I sent the report in on the 6th or 7th, and I actually received my letter from the Secretary of State's office on the, well, let me get my glasses, on the 10th. Anyway, I'm a 29-year veteran with Birmingham Fire and Rescue, retired. I did 8 years in Alabama Air National Guard. I say that just to give you a sense of my character.
Thank you.
There is, on the letter, and this is, I'm a citizen that has no record. My life has been pretty much in the public service realm. I've always wanted to serve people. That's why, as I stated, my records should note that. But on the case, I think the letter says like intent to violate a campaign or influence a campaign election. Well, I was sworn into office on November the 11th, 2020. On January the 1st, 2021, my beginning balance in still have my campaign fund, was $913.72. I loaned myself on February the 2nd of 2021, $1,800. And I did that. I had a campaign advisor, Mr. Stone out of Birmingham. I paid to Scott Stone on February the 8th of 21, last year, $2,510. From that point on, my balance as of March the 1st of 2021 was $203.72. As of March the 1st of 22, this past month, my balance was still $203.72. So there was no intent on my part to violate any type of state law other than just, lack of a better word, carelessness. In fact, if my wife had not have reminded me, I would have been a little later than this, but there was no intent, sir.
When you
And
said
I would ask that this be
a loan of
set aside.
$1,800, you personally loaned your campaign account $1,800?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. I was not, I'm small commissioner. I did not want to get involved in a lot of trying to get out and hustle up a lot of campaign funds from different groups and individuals. I tried to keep mine where I could keep up with my business.
All right. Any questions from staff? No, sir. Any questions from the commission? Any comment by the Secretary of State?
Nothing to add, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Is there a motion?
I move that we set aside the offense and fine.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in or is there any further discussion? If not, we'll vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 4-0. Thank you, sir.
I think I will call this a court. I thank the court for being patient with me. One other question.
Sure.
Since I'm from Walker County, do I have to stay here?
No, no.
I was gonna make sure. So, listen, I appreciate it very much.
All right.
You have a great day.
Y'all are all welcome to Walker County.
Thank you. And for anyone who might not be familiar with these appeals, I guess approximately 2 years ago, 3 years ago, we went to an all-electronic filing system. And the commission has tried to be lenient or patient and understanding, not lenient, but understanding with people who may not have a campaign staff, for instance, county commissioner, where we have, the Democratic or Republican Party PACs and governors and people running for a statewide office that have staff and have better advisors. We may not be willing to cut them slack, but for individuals who don't have campaign staff, we have tried to be very understanding. And to my knowledge, we've had very few, if any, repeat offenders that have come before us. All right. The Coastal PAC.
Yes, sir. They are appealing 4 fines. They are all for up to a total of $2,525. They are for monthly reports that were due from September through December. They were all filed on December 21st. I don't believe, somebody is here from Coastal PAC. In that case, then would you like to speak to the commission? Okay. And did you hear the warning that I gave earlier? And you would still like to talk?
Absolutely.
Okay. Would you raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Okay, go ahead.
Could you state your name, please, sir?
Yes, Wiley Blankenship. I'm the director of Coastal 150, which manages the Coastal PAC.
Have a seat, and you can make your presentation.
It'll probably be short. I did make a mistake, a great mistake. And kind of give you an idea, I'm a one-person organization. We have one staff member for the organization I manage. And we started participating in elections in the 2018 election cycle. And through that is where I kind of got my training on what I needed to do, but apparently not well enough. In my notation that I had put in my file, I had reminded myself, okay, I need to file before the end of the year. Well, obviously, when I dispensed checks to candidates, I didn't file. I was waiting till the end of the year. That's my fault. I mean, it's just pure ignorance. I'm not going to try to make excuses for it. But I'm not necessarily here to ask for, forgiveness of the whole amount, just consideration for some. I think, you have rules and they have consequences, and I get that. But, I did file immediately. I think you should have that in your records. As soon as we found out about it, because my board that's listed on the file, they contacted me and said, "Are you seeing this? What happened?" And I'm like, I don't know. And then I looked into it and I called the Secretary of State's office and they informed me, yes, you should have started filing September, October, November. And immediately I filed. I've got copies of it in here where I did that same day to take care of that. So just asking for consideration is all I'm here to do for maybe.
What were your campaign account balances or your PAC account balances during that time period? Approximately.
Approximately somewhere between 75,000, 100,000, if I recall. I can kind of give you the amounts that we dispensed if you need that.
That's fine. I'm sure it's in the record. Is it?
Yeah. Yeah, I believe it's in the materials that were sent to you guys.
Any questions of the staff?
No, sir.
Questions by the commission? Comment or questions by the Secretary of State?
Mr. Chairman, I would just add that I talked to Mr. Blankenship, and I know he worked closely with the staff, and they took it very seriously and made immediate efforts to get it corrected.
The first offense?
Well,
Those
first through fourth.
Right,
yeah.
okay. All right. Anything else? Do we have a motion? I'm sorry.
Altogether, it's one, yes.
Do we have a motion?
I move that we remit the fine to $300, so that would be a total of $2,225 remitted.
All right. Do we have a second? Second. All right, so we're remitting the fine down to $300. We're not setting aside the offenses, correct?
Oh, no, let me change that. Let me reduce the number of offenses to one.
All right. So the motion is reduce the fines to $300 and reduce the offenses to the first. So they'd be
With
one.
the second, third, and fourth offenses being dismissed.
And second on that? Second. All right. Any questions or comments? Not, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Passes 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Joseph Lister Hubbard, Jr.
I believe we have a Thomas Rhodes beforehand. But we can go back to that one. I believe we skipped over Thomas Rhodes. Oh, is it?
I have him in the notebook, but not on, I guess, our agenda, so I guess
Okay.
that was just a
Oh, yeah,
mistake.
Thomas Brent Rhodes.
Okay. So Mr. Rhodes is appealing a fine of $120. It is a first offense. It was due on February 2nd. It was a monthly report. He filed it on February 5th. He states in his appeal that he would like to appeal the Fcpa violation due to not receiving his login credentials until after the due date.
So it was a 3-day, 4-day delay?
I can't tell when he registered his PCC from the information I've got here, but I think Mr. Evans might be able to speak to that.
Mr. Chairman, this appears to be the same situation as Senator Holtzclaw, where because of timing, the paperwork didn't get back to him before the report was due.
All right, thank you. Any comments or further questions by anyone? Not, is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we set aside the fine and the offense.
Is there a second? Second. Any further discussion? Not, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 4-0. Joseph Lister Hubbard, Jr.
Yes, sir. Mr. Hubbard is appealing a fine of $300. It is a first offense. It was for a January 31st annual report that was filed on February 6th. I don't believe Mr. Hubbard's here today, but he states that he left a message for Hugh earlier, wanted to contest the violation. He says the expenditure was a charitable expenditure intended to close the PCC as provided in the FCPA. It was not made to influence the outcome of an election. He said he intends to prove an affidavit rebutting that presumption within 17 days of the letter. I'm not aware of receiving that letter, but Mr. Evans may have received that, and wants to challenge the violation pursuant to FCPA.
The affidavit may not have been forwarded to y'all because it really was irrelevant. The report, his annual report was late. That's where the penalty came from.
Right.
The affidavit had to do with a contribution. Now, I do want to say this. This is a very interesting story. Joe Hubbard used to be a member of the legislature, ran for attorney general. He is now an Episcopal priest in Utah working on a reservation. I told him after we had a long conversation that I would come up here and that I would personally ask y'all to dismiss this.
Okay. Thank you. So he saw the light.
Yes, sir.
And continue to see the light.
I move that we set aside the offense and the fine.
Second.
All right, no further discussion. We'll vote. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Passes 4-0. Sean Golden.
Yes, sir. Mr. Golden is appealing a first offense. It is a fine of $205.29. The report was due on February 2nd. It was a monthly report. It was filed on February 14th. I don't believe Mr. Golden is here today, but he does state in his appeal that he wishes to appeal the penalty due to being a first-time candidate. He qualified at the end of the month in January and wasn't aware of the quick turnaround of the February due date of submitting his paperwork for the campaign finance report. He was informed that he should have received a letter in the mail with information to set up his account online, but did not receive that letter with the information to use the above-mentioned form. He says he sincerely apologizes for the oversight and, as he mentioned, is new to this and still learning. And once he received an email informing him that the information was late, he immediately began the process of setting things up online to complete it.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, this is another situation identical to Holtzclaw and the other one, that they all register on January 28th. The report was due February 2nd, but they didn't get their paperwork back from us till February the 8th or 9th.
All right, thank you. Is there a motion?
I move that the fine and the offense be set aside.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Not all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Passes 4-0. Baron Douglas Langster Sr.
Yes, sir. Mr. Langster is appealing a fine of $290 for the first offense. It is for a report that was due on February 2nd, and it was filed on February 22nd. He states in the, I don't believe he is here today, but he states in the appeal that he received notice of his noncompliance and wanted to take an opportunity to explain. He said he was experiencing a serious interruption in landline and internet services where they disconnected his office phone and internet services during the period. He says although he had paid for those services, they disconnected it. And he was trying to get clarification of a cell phone bill that he received before he made the payment. I'm sorry, I'm not sure. He didn't have internet access for a few weeks and didn't have service at his home at the time during that period. And he's got a letter from his internet service provider explaining that. And he also says that through his own ignorance, he didn't think that he had reached the threshold for reporting because he has not raised $1,000. It wasn't until 2 weeks later that he read where his contribution or loan for qualifying fee triggered the filing date pursuant to the FCPA. He says that he is truly sorry and will be careful to comply with the FCPA going forward.
Secretary of State's office has any comment?
No, sir.
Is there a motion on Baron Douglas Langster Sr.?
Is this the first offense?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
I move that we set aside the fine and the offense.
Is there a second? Motion and second. Any further discussion? Not all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 4-0. Joseph Willoughby.
Yes, sir. Mr. Willoughby is appealing a fine of $300. It is another first offense. The report was due on February 2nd. It was a monthly report. It was filed on February 8th. I believe Mr. Willoughby is here today. You heard the warning I gave earlier? Okay. Yeah. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Absolutely.
All right, go ahead.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Chairman, Chief Justice, Judge General, thank you for your time. Yes, this is a filing that was due, I believe February the 2nd, would have been the second business day in February. I've maintained a campaign account since my first cycle, which would have started 2015. I was appointed and had to run in the general election 2016. I've had a campaign committee, maintain annual reporting every year subsequent to the 2016 cycle. And paid my qualifying fees sometime in January, and I knew that would trigger monthly reporting, as well as there was contributions made in the month of January. As we went on February the 1st to file the January report, I'm not sure how familiar you are with the online system. I'm still navigating it myself, but there's a file report tab. And we had been filing, due to my status, not as a candidate, annual report. So there was no monthly report tab available. This prompted an immediate phone call with the Secretary of State. I'm not sure the young lady's name that we spoke with there. She tried to help us navigate through that, and at some point told us that she could manually trigger that report tab to come up. So we concluded that conversation. That would have been on February 1st, which I believe was a Wednesday. February 2nd, we checked again, and I believe that Friday we checked, and the file report button was there. However, it was for February. Well, I couldn't file February report because we were still in February, if that makes sense.
Sure.
And the next week, so the report was filed on the 8th. The next week, we were able to go in and manipulate the report to change it to January. I can't tell you all the details about how I did it.
That's fine.
We worked real hard on it. Learned a lot of things throughout this process. The entire time, though, we were in constant communication with General Counsel Evans. I called him, and he told me, when I explained it to him, to send him a response, just kind of laying out what it was, and we did that. And then I received a letter about being here today. So, you know, I think if you're looking at filer's intent, things of that nature, obviously there's no willful act to not file. I've maintained this and tried to do a good job, in addition to the things that my responsibilities every day. I appreciate your time in hearing this matter. I think we have it resolved. I've actually learned, even as of last night, that I was able to opt out of weekly filing. Didn't know that was even an option because I'm not in the primary. I have no primary opposition, which I'm excited about. But I noticed on my filing reports that it was prompting, I believe, end of April, end of May, weekly reporting, for which I knew that wasn't accurate. So I was able to terminate that last night. And so, again, it's a process that we're learning, but I would ask that the penalty be set aside as well as the offense dismissed.
Right. What's your position, your elected position?
District Attorney, 16th Judicial Circuit.
Thank you. Any questions from staff?
No, sir.
Mr. Evans?
Mr. Chairman, we have no objection.
All right. Any questions from commission? Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the fine and the offense be set aside.
Second?
Second?
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Not all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Oh. The ayes have it, 4-0, passes unanimously. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for your time.
Have a great day.
Director Albrecht, thank you.
Sir, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Next case is Frank Dillman.
Yes, sir. Mr. Dillman is appealing a fine of $94.37. It is for a first offense. This is in regards to a yearly report that was due January 31st. It was filed on February 18th. That seems like it's after 14 days, in which case we do not have jurisdiction over this, if that's correct. Apologize for not catching that sooner. It says February 18th. We need to make sure that's accurate. Apologies, 1 second.
Sure.
Oh, I'm sorry. I misread the spreadsheet. He was fined on February 2nd. He appealed it within the window. It was filed on February 18th. My apologies for that. I don't believe Mr. Dillman. Oh, Mr. Dillman is here today.
Mr. Dillman, would you like to speak to the commission?
I would, sir, please.
All right, please come forward.
Did you hear the warning I gave earlier?
Yes, I got it.
Okay. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do, sir.
All right, go ahead.
For the record, would you state your position, please, sir?
I'm a citizen,
All right,
unelected public servant.
thank you.
Chairman and commissioners, I'm a Navy veteran of the Vietnam War. I understand rules, comply with rules. Mr. Evans knows me from years past. I've been a candidate in Macon County 3 times. And the first time it was a paper filing, which was a piece of cake. The second time was electronic filing, which actually caused me a lot of frustration and aggravation. The third time is what really brought me before you for the first time in my life. So I find the procedures very complicating and intimidating. At one point in time, Mr. Packard, I made a mistake in my filing. I tell people I'm not a type A personality, I'm a AAA. I like to have ducks in a row. It's my signature on things. And so I made a mistake in my filing, and we tried to handle it over the phone. I don't remember who I was speaking with. And I live in Macon County. It's not a long drive, but I came into, and Mr. Packard, I sat at his computer, and he looked over my shoulder, and we corrected the issues. And then in January 2021, I was speaking, and I have copies of emails, because the people in the Secretary of State's office are above reproach. And I was working where a woman named Candace was helping me. And I really thought that I had closed my account out, because I have an email that this was on January 22nd, 2021, after the 2020 election. I ran in 2016, 2018, 2020. And so this is an email that I sent to Miss Candace on the January 22nd, and I wrote, I believe we have, and I wrote we, because it was capital letters, combination of 2 of us, have dissolved and terminated my campaign. So at that point in time, I felt that I was good to go. And I received an email from the Secretary of State's office on the 22nd, that same day, stating that the report due on January 31st, 2021 was satisfactorily filed with the Alabama Secretary of State's office on January 22nd, 2021. So I honestly really thought that Frank Dillman had accomplished what Frank Dillman was determined to do. Bingo, didn't happen. So in February, I received a couple of emails from the Secretary of State's office, and I honestly thought that I had done everything that I needed to do, and I read them, but I disregarded them. And so finally I realized that maybe there was an error, and I was speaking with Miss Whitney, who showed as much patience and understanding as Candace did a year earlier. And when in fact, even with Miss Candace going back to show the complexity of this system that I just couldn't grasp, I inadvertently closed my account. So it was Candace that had to reopen the account to get me back in there. So with Miss Whitney, who was helping me, she said, well, you closed your account, but you didn't terminate it. Well, bingo. And so we finally were able to get to the point where I needed to do, and those forms, Chairman, were sitting there waiting on me. I couldn't even change the forms. I couldn't modify the forms. The only thing I could do is hit the red button that says send. So the forms were there. It's just a question that I did not understand the complexity of the system. As a county government, it was my wife, my son, and I on the campaign. All of my forms have been, I was one of everybody. So I do feel for individuals who try to run for office at a low level of the county or a municipality that has to struggle through complexity, that I understand the need of it, but I really wish there was some way that would, for little guys.
And I think there's been discussion of different levels, maybe of compliance based on the level of office that someone might be running for. So talk to your legislator. It might make it easier on all of us, okay? All right,
Well, at least on the good side, as I get older, I try to see that the glass is half full, not half empty. So at least I got to see the four of you and others. So, and Drew, the counsel for the Secretary of State's office, we go back several years anyway, so.
Very good.
But I do respectfully request an understanding of what I went through. This was certainly not something that I wanted to do. I had no intentions of doing.
And your account is closed now? You're not active?
Well, I'm not too sure at this point in time because.
That's your intent, right?
Well, it was my intent to close then.
Okay.
But I may be on the ballot for the fourth time in November, so I don't know. You get that politics in your blood and you just can't get rid of it. So it's in your DNA. So I do thank you for your time and any consideration that you may offer.
Questions from the staff?
No, sir.
Questions from the commission? Comments or questions from the Secretary?
Mr. Chairman, I can't explain it any better than Mr. Billman did.
All right. Is there a motion by the commission?
Move that we set aside the offense and the fine.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Passes 4-0. You have the unanimous consent of the commission to go forward, sin no more, and run for office.
One more time, sir, if I do it. That's it. At 74 years of age, I got to step back and let the younger folks do it.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
All right.
You take care, my man. Sit here.
Corey Wilson.
Yes, Corey Wilson is appealing a fine of $283.44. It is a first offense. This is in regards to a monthly report as well that was due February 2nd, which was filed on February 8th. I don't believe Mr. Wilson's here, unless, are you Mr. Wilson? Okay. Did you hear the warning that I gave earlier?
Yes.
And you still wish to speak to the commission?
Yes.
All right, would you raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? All right, go ahead.
Thank you, sir. For the record, what is your position? Elective office,
Candidate.
candidate?
Candidate
All right. For what? What office?
for Alabama State Senate District 7.
Very good. All right, go ahead with your presentation.
There isn't much to say. I, like many first-time candidates, am in like the same predicament as many of my peers. I was able to be put on the ballot on the 28th of January. The filing was due on the 2nd. I had 5 days after the January 28th date to get all the paperwork in. I received my login information I finished registering and sending the letter I need to send to the Secretary of State's office by the 2nd, and I got my credentials back on February 8th. So I didn't have access to the system to file, to make the filing on February 2nd. So that's why I'm here today, to ask that we can remit the offense and the fine.
And you're a first-time candidate?
Correct.
Any questions from the staff?
Sir?
Secretary of State's office?
Mr. Chairman, this is the Holtzclaw situation that I referred to earlier.
Any questions from the commission? Do we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the fine and the offense be set aside.
Second?
Second.
Any further discussion? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 4-0. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Kimberly Rucker.
Yes, sir. Ms. Rucker is appealing a fine of $300. It is another first offense for another February 2nd monthly report. It was filed on February 22nd. I don't believe that Ms. Rucker is here. Okay. But she does write that, Mr. Matthew Hodges writes on behalf of Ms. Rucker saying that, I'm sorry, I received an email from them earlier saying that she was not going to be able to attend due to her work schedule. But she does say that there was a mistake made in understanding the timeline for the initial filing, and they would like to appeal the fine for the campaign's first offense. They are working together to ensure that all future filings will be done on time and in accordance with the law.
What is her position, or what is she a candidate for?
District Court Judge in Madison County, place 2. I'm not aware if she's a candidate, or no, she's a candidate, yeah.
Okay. All right. Any comments or questions from the Secretary of State?
Mr. Chairman, we don't have any information that y'all don't have, so no, sir.
All right. Any questions from the commission? Is she a first-time candidate, if we know?
I'm not aware.
To my knowledge, yes, sir.
All right. Do we have a motion?
I move that we set aside the offense and the fine.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Not all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Passes 4-0. Candace Pickett.
Yes, sir. Ms. Pickett is appealing a fine of $300. It is another first offense for a February 2nd monthly report, which was filed on February 13th, and I believe Ms. Pickett is here today. Did you hear the warning I gave earlier? And would you still like to speak to the commission? All right, would you raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do. All right, please go ahead.
Hello.
Good morning.
I am a first-time candidate for Jefferson County Circuit Court Judge, place 16. I am the only one doing my campaign filing, and it was honest error on my part. It took me until, I think I filed on the 13th, to figure out how to schedule the filing so that the reports due would populate on your dashboard so that you could file. And as soon as I figured that out, I filed, and every report I filed since then has been early. So I would just ask that the first offense and the fine be set aside.
Any questions by the staff?
No, sir.
Secretary of State?
Nothing to add.
Any questions or comments from the commission? Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the fine and the offense be set aside.
Have a second? Have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approval of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 4-0. Thank you.
Thank y'all so much for your time.
All right, good luck. Are there any further FRC appeals?
No, sir.
I just wanted to comment, we had, 14 or 15 appeals out of how many reports?
Chairman, thousands,
Okay.
and I'm probably on the conservative side.
Okay. So compliance is at a very high level. Yes, sir. All right. All right. Well, thank you for coming. At this time, we'll go into executive session to discuss matters related to the character and reputation of certain public officials or employees, as well as matters that are covered by the Grand Jury Secrecy Act. No matters will be discussed which are outside the scope of the state guidelines permitting meeting in executive session. We expect to reconvene in approximately 90 minutes. All recording devices, video and audio must be removed from the room. Anyone secretly recording an executive session will be in violation of the law. Do I have a motion to go into executive session? Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor of going into executive session signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0, and we'll go into executive session.